and welcome back to the second installment of James Bond, a discussion on all the movies.
Bonding time, actually. Bonding time.
Yeah. Welcome back to Bonding Time. This is yours truly, Christopher Greenwich. Sorry, Greenwich. Christopher Greenwich. I'm here with my other co-hosts. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
It's Patrick, Ramon Patrick, signing in.
Hutchinson, David Hutchinson.
I'm just John because I'm not doing that every week.
Not
Just
even
John.
cordially, John.
Come on, John, you're a team player. Fine.
John's like the token Bond sidekick.
Oh wow!
Just John. Just John. You see, you need to introduce yourself properly next time.
That's mean. But yes, and we're all here. And today we're going to be discussing the second installment of James Bond, From Russia with Love. This one, James Bond is back, and he's battling Spectre. And Spectre are out to snatch a decoding device known as the Lecter. And they're using a clerk from the Soviet embassy to lure Bond to help them to do it. And Bond gets into a number of hijinks in this film. But why don't we go ahead and start with the opening titles? What did you guys think this time around? Dave, why don't you open up the discussion?
So coming from Dr. No to this one, you actually have a pre-credits scene. So you have the gun barrel, and then the opening scene, and then the Bond song. And I thought it was interesting because you don't actually see Bond in the opening scene. You think you see Bond, but it's not actually Bond. It's like a decoy. It's all like training that Spectre is doing because they're out to get Bond. So it kind of continues on from Dr. No, which I think is pretty cool. Obviously, he's made a bad impression on Spectre, and they're out to get him. And it really sets the stakes up high, seeing these guys are out to get Bond. And I think that was really cool. The opening sequence itself with the belly dancing, I think that was really iconic. It kind of set the stage of what was to come in future Bond title sequences.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, there wasn't technically a song, like it was just an instrumental, which doesn't happen very often in the Bond movies. But I thought it was really good. I really liked it.
They had a closing song though, From Russia with Love.
From Russia with Love. I think that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
So
weird because the song
Yeah.
has lyrics, the song has singing, but in the intro, the title sequence, they kept the instrumental.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. Well, I guess own it to me. I thought it was fine. I absolutely love this opening sequence. This is exactly where I thought it should go. Right after the first one. 'Cause, like, the first one, you could tell, all right, we're starting this. It's going to be a good idea. Then you take it into the starting with the belly dancer and the actual credits and information coming up. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is Bond in a nutshell.
What did you think?
It wasn't it was whimsical, and I absolutely loved it.
What do you think, John? What about you?
I want to hear from you first. What do you think, Chris?
Well, this one I liked it better than the one in Dr. No. The one in Dr. No is, very simple. And of course, I know it's 1962 and it's the first movie, so it's obviously going to be a little more simple. But this title definitely, reminded me of titles, you'd see in the future. And it was very sexy opening title, a little mesmerizing with the belly dancer and everything. And honestly, this title, I mean, this opening title was kind of simple as well, straightforward. I mean, it really was just the outline of the belly dancer with the, everybody's name coming up. But I liked it, I always think simple's better. So, yeah, decent.
So for me, two different things: the opening scene and the opening credits. The opening scene was awesome. The opening
Yes, it
scene felt like if I was playing N64, and it was like that's what it felt like if I was playing GoldenEye, and like you were trying to you're in 2-player mode, you're trying to track down the other guy and kill him. That's what it felt like, and that was really, really cool. That was a really cool opening Bond scene. Like Dave said, you thought you saw Bond, but you didn't actually see Bond, right? And it really sets up. What I liked about it as well is that it really set up the bad guys in this movie, and I like that. Like opening scene, solid. Gun barrel, solid. Opening sequence sucked so hard. Like I was so bad. I was like,
Wait a minute.
wait, what?
Wait a minute.
So,
What about it didn't you like? I mean,
Did you laugh at the 007 part?
huh?
Did you laugh at the 007 part?
What 007 part?
When the credits were going and they showed 007 and it was like, no.
I mean, I probably did. I don't remember that because I was just like, okay, cool. Like opening scene, and I was like, oh yeah. I was like, and that really set it up. Like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this. Like, because I remember liking this movie, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this. And then the opening sequence, like it was like a poorly. I felt like if I was sort of like, I mean, I'll give them university level. I felt like if it was like a university level art show that they were trying to pull off, and it just wasn't very effective. But like your friend invited you, so you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'll go. And y'all realize, right, for the opening sequence, you couldn't understand a lot of the names. Like the belly dancing thing was cool, and I felt like if I knew exactly what they were doing with the light, it's like they were casting the light, and then people were coming in front of it, so you were seeing things. And I was like, yeah, it's a cool idea, but it's not effective because it made it really difficult to actually read any of the names and stuff. And the belly dancing was interesting for about 30 seconds, and then it went a lot longer than that. And again, there was no song. There was no words to the song. So I was like, well, I'm bored. This sucks. I can't read it. It looks kind of cool, but then it felt very amateur. And then I just I wrote it off as, oh, this was probably for them really cool or high tech at the time or something. I don't know. And I was like, well, that was kind of a letdown. I was genuinely well, that just felt really amateur to me. And for the podcast, I went and I looked back at Dr. Knows, and I remember not really caring for Dr. Knows. It was cool. It was cool that it set it off, and it was like, this is the first Bond movie, right? But in comparison, that one actually looked a lot better because while that one was simple, it didn't feel as amateur. It was dated for sure, but it didn't feel as amateur. Also, I realized that I really liked the 3 by Mice thing. Looking back at it in comparison to this one, the 3 by Mice thing, yeah. I appreciated that. They had some music, it was a little bit jokey, whatever. This one was just straight up belly dancing and lights, done poorly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could take that point. Maybe this one was maybe a little bit uninspired. I mean, I guess when you think about it, it was just the belly dancing girl for the full opening, 2 minutes?
Maybe I wouldn't go as far as uninspired. It was just it just felt very amateur. When I saw it, just what pissed me off about it was the fact that you would see the name, they'd move their arm or move their belly or whatever, and then you couldn't see the name properly. And I'm like, that is so.
I'll admit, if it was in filmography school, I don't think you'd get a passing grade on that. For sure.
If I were their teacher, if they were going to my school and I was their teacher, I'd be like, B. And I mean, that's really bad because I'm just an idiot in my room talking. But I would be like, they at least need to if I were the director, right? and you were doing this artsy fartsy thing, you thought it was so cool, and then someone couldn't read my name, I would be pissed. I would be genuinely like, no, do it again.
Okay, all right.
I didn't like the open. I like the opening scene. Like the opening scene was awesome. Like that set up a great movie. Opening sequence, yeah, a lot to be desired. A lot.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry. I'm 5. I giggled. I thought I enjoyed it. Sorry, I'm 10.
Well, yeah, with that, well, I noticed I kind of skipped through, asking about opening comments as well. Why don't you guys give, maybe your general impressions of what you thought of the movie, overall before we move on to like some more detail. So I don't know who wants to start us off with that. Ramon, any opening comments?
I'll start it off. I actually enjoyed this one. It definitely ranks above Dr. No for me. But when we go into detail, in terms of story and the way the cadence of the story and everything, thoroughly enjoyed it. But actually, when we get to the finer details that we're looking at, like the villain, the Bond girl, it actually fell down to me. So I'd like to go into discussion with that.
For the record, I'm holding off my overall review of the movie till the end because I feel like if
John's about to shit on this movie.
That's fine. That is fine.
But I somewhat agree with you, Rowan. Yeah.
So for me, overall, generally speaking, I think this movie upped the stakes from Dr. No. So Dr. No, I thought was a very good isolated movie where it was just in Jamaica. But this was a very espionage, like these guys are out to get Bond. And it's really interesting because one of the things, Chris, you said last week when speaking of Dr. No and the villain is you didn't see Dr. No until right at the end. This movie starts off with the villain. And then it's just like all the stakes have been raised. They introduce Q. They have all these things in like a lot more action scenes. The action scenes are more like they have fighting, so more choreography. I just think overall the movie upped the stakes. Like it was like Dr. No, but bigger and better.
What did you think, Chris?
Yeah, I really like this movie a lot. Dr. No was actually a really great Bond, great way to start it off, and I think From Russia with Love definitely, upped the game. It was an improvement. Kept going. With sequels, a lot of the times, the problem is that they just try to do too much. Maybe they try to introduce too many characters, or you just, the action is just, so complicated, so much, you just get overwhelmed. I thought they did a really good job of definitely building on the world of Bond that they established in the first without, going over the top. Still had a great story. They introduced a lot more characters this time around, but you could still, keep track of who was who. And of course the action, excellent, especially for back in those times. I'm a fan of action, so I loved it, especially the boat scene, the boat chase at the end. Wow. Like just pouring to the senses. Oh my God. So what do you think, John?
We're gonna talk about this movie and then I'll give my overall. But I feel like if we're gonna see where I'm gonna go with this after a little bit of after we go through a couple of the criteria that we set out, because yeah.
One thing that I thought was super cool about this movie, and it was really cool in Dr. No, you don't see it in a lot of the newer Bond movies, or even some of the later older ones. It's just the spy stuff. Like when he goes in a hotel room and they play the James Bond theme and he's just checking, putting the hair on the closet and checking into a hotel room. The James Bond theme is playing. Like that, it's just spy stuff. You don't get a lot of that anymore. Like, it's all action now in the new movies. But I really like the espionage in these older ones. Well, at least these first two so far.
I can't remember exactly, but I feel like if there was a little bit of that spice stuff in Quantum of Solace, at least that's the one that's like popping into my head, and I like that. I mean, like, I'm not saying that it's completely common. It's not like a quintessential every time Bond stays at a hotel, he like checks it for like being bugged or anything.
Listen to, yeah.
But I don't know. I when you said that, I thought of Quantum of Solace, and I feel like I don't know. I did like that. I did enjoy that. There are parts of this movie that I thought were like, yeah, that's cool. The whole videotaping their room, and like they gave him that room specifically because they already bugged it out, and they're like, it's fine. We can give him the honeymoon suite because we have that one bug too. Like all those little things. Yeah, I did enjoy that. I like the fact also that what they're trying to get, what the big thing about this movie was the cipher. The fact that, and it's not like this little thing that like fits in your pocket, is like a typewriter type thing, and like I like that the definitely the spy stuff in this was cool. But to go back to the opening sequence as well, the face, like ripping off the face, that was so MI6.
Mission Impossible, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So Mission Impossible that I was like, yeah, I was here for that. Like that opening scene was awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
No doubt.
Wait a minute.
Well,
Didn't this come before Mission Impossible?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
maybe before.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, Bond isn't just. That's the great thing about Bond. Bond isn't just Bond. Like, he's influenced so many other franchises. Like, you really, when you dissect it, there's so many pieces of Bond in so many action movies. Not just like spy movies, but action movies as well.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me of another thing. Do you know what this movie made me want to do more than anything else?
Be a spy?
No, watch Austin Powers. Like that's what this movie, like watching him stroke the cat.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, ooh, this is. I
Number
could go
two.
watch that now.
All I wanted to do was watch Austin Powers. Like that. This more than anything else was like that. That's what I was like, because there's so much good stuff to make fun of in this movie that I was like, Austin Powers needs to happen at some point.
You know, I can't take that scene serious anymore. Like I used to be able to like take that scene serious and stroking the cat, but after Austin Powers, I can't take that serious.
Yeah, take it at all. Yep.
Like holy shit.
Yeah, it was completely ruined for me. But I was definitely sitting down and I was like, I need to, because I've watched Bond more recently than I watched Austin Powers. I'm like, I really need to revisit those movies. Like, I need to go back and because they take a piss out of everything.
The thing is, though, like later on in the series, James Bond kind of takes the piss out of it too. It's like in these early ones, they take it seriously, but by even like the Sean Connery later ones, they just make a joke out of Spectre, and it's just like Blofeld is not the menacing villain he is in these first few movies, where it's like you don't even see his face. He's like built up. He's the mastermind. He's number one.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about number one, what do you guys think was the number one Bond girl? Mm-hmm. John, what do you think?
Well, I mean, Tatiana, no doubt, was the Bond girl in this movie.
Although I didn't remember this, I did not remember this, but last week I was talking about Sylvia Trench. She's
And I
back
think
in
she
this
is
movie.
the Bond girl for this
Dude,
movie
I
to
was
me.
like, holy shit, you made it into another movie? Like Bond
Exactly.
had Honey Rider and then went back to Sylvia Trench. That was cool. I loved that they brought back Sylvia Trench. That was awesome.
I mean, hearing her is like, okay, so I guess he has like some on and off again girlfriend. Interesting.
And then she shows up at the beginning of this one. Yeah,
I
I think she was the better
really
Bond girl
cool.
to me.
It allows the movies to have some continuity, which I think I really like that they brought back Sylvia Trench. And she's like, the last time you said that, you went to Jamaica.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, again, that's what I like about these old ones and the very recent ones. There is some continuity. But would you consider her a Bond girl? Because
I consider her a Bond girl, but not the Bond girl from this movie.
so here's my thing about that, right? I hated the Bond girl in this movie so much that
So do I.
I would take
I'm taking her over there. I'm
I
definitely
would
taking
take
her over
her. She's the Bond girl in this movie. Sylvia is the Bond girl in this movie because the other Bond girl was so awful. I will literally take
So
anybody out.
it's the thing is, I
Funny-
think it's difficult to judge Tatiana because we get a lot more screen time with her than we did with Honey Rider, but we never really get to know her because the whole movie she's putting on a show. So it's like she's just playing the part that a woman is supposed to play back in the 60s. Like it's not like who she is. But you can see that when they're together, they become comfortable with each other and they're enjoying each other's company, but it's not who she like she's not showing Bond who she really is, kind of thing. So it's difficult for me to judge her and say, but I see I see what you mean though. She is annoying in the movie
because
for sure.
no. Once again, you're right. She is playing the part and doing everything to meet the expectations, and then at the end, somehow that is actually her.
Yeah, so that's what I think is funny about what Dave said. Is like, like, oh, we don't really get to know her. But I was like, no, dude, I'm pretty sure that is her. Like, you want to believe that there's more behind that, but I think that's legitimately just who she is. You were saying her what?
No, I totally agree. Like, literally, okay, it gets to that point at the end, and I'm like, oh, okay, okay. So how's Bond gonna get out of this one? She comes back and is like, I'm in love with you. Oh, you weren't playing this whole time. This was you. This was your character, or this was supposed to be your character.
Nah. You gotta turn down the charm, dog. Yeah, no, I mean, actually, I kind of agree with you guys, John and Ramon on that one. I think we were seeing her the whole time. I mean, maybe not the whole time, but I think we definitely. To me, she seemed like a quiet, unassuming woman. Very cute.
Totally agree. But at the same time,
But then also,
she's chosen.
She is gorgeous
to be a Russian operative.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Wait, what?
No, Dave said she was gorgeous, but I was like, she was chosen to be a Russian operative.
Right. Yeah.
For the perfect girl.
Yeah, that's the whole time. She's getting the wool pulled over her eyes and that too.
I think what Honey Rider has over her is that Honey Rider almost like felt like she could hold her ground against Bond in a conversation, whereas Tatiana is just there along for the ride.
Or even she's
tagging along. She's not she's not controlling the boat. She's not saying let's go this direction. Aside from that one scene where she saves Bond by when Rosa Klebb comes in the hotel room, but that's like that's a turning point for her character, and we don't see what she's like after that moment, so we can only judge her based off the movie. And she definitely is that kind of character where she's just tagging along.
So in my I think it's so funny that you describe her as unassuming, because like you're like, oh, she's just along for the ride, whatever. No, she's an idiot. Like, she is so like
Dawn is so harsh.
He's right.
In the beginning when they when Klebb calls her in, right? I'm thinking, oh, she's an operative too. She's gonna be like, I remember liking this movie. And then she showed up, and I was like, yeah, she's gonna be like a cool spy lady too. Like, we're gonna think that she's along for the ride, and she's gonna be like super cool. Meet James Bond where he is. Like, she brings something to the table, and the whole movie I was just waiting for it to happen, and it never did. And every scene that she's in, Dave, you're talking about her like two of them having chemistry and getting along. Yeah, because all they were doing was having sex. Like, it was like
that's my thing. She initiated it well at the very beginning, seeming quite against the idea.
Yeah, she was so penis whipped. Like, I really genuinely in my heart of
that's it. That's all you can say.
They're on the boat. Bond is like trying to get information from her. She's like, "Oh, James, can we go now?"
That
Can we-"
scene was so funny when M has to tell Moneypenny to leave the
That's
room,
hilarious. Yeah.
and then she listens in anyway.
Listen,
Oh, I loved that. That was great. That was like, I love the comedy in these early Bond movies. It's
really
not
do.
like Roger Moore comedy. It's more dry, but it's still hilarious.
I don't know, man. I wasn't. I don't think that I was laughing at the parts that I should have been laughing at because that opening scene with that's the thing. Moneypenny is smart. Like Moneypenny is like, oh, you're gonna throw me out of the meeting? Cool, I'm gonna listen anyhow. Like whatever.
Sylvia Trench is also smart.
Yes, that's
I love Sylvia Trench.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
That's the reason why Sylvia is the Bond woman in this movie. Like I felt
To me,
so bad. I left her on the train, and I was like, and she wasn't like, oh, I was like, God, no, come on. I literally just slapped you, and I felt disrespected when he slapped her. Like, I was like,
Real though? I'm like,
you hit her real hard though, like,
but,
but I
actually no.
felt...
I say will fly today because I'm an equal opportunity torture. Like he found out she was a spy. Legit, equal opportunity here. We were here to bamboozle and fool me, blah blah, so on and so forth. Yeah.
I really thought that I was gonna like Tatiana. When she first came in, I thought like cool Russian spy. I think she was gonna be the Russian spy that I wanted. And yeah, maybe Bond could like make her come over. But you know what also set it off for me? Bond seemed annoyed with her. Like
yeah, he was like, focus, like, come on, girl, focus. Come
he
on.
was legitimately like, get yourself together, dog. Like, come on. Like the fact that she was annoying to him just like set the tone for she's an idiot. Just like the part where she saved him was like her highlight moment. But honestly, I felt like if that could have gone either way, because she's just so stupid. I could just see her just being like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm like back on the other side. Like, it's cool, whatever. Like, so there was one point where I kind of thought that maybe she would have died and then her life would have meaning. Like, that's how bad it was.
It's funny because even her handler, like even at the very end scene, she was like, girl, what are you doing? Do something.
That is true.
Even she was annoyed at it.
Yo, like as a Bond woman, she's definitely way worse than Honey Rider. We talked about it. Like that's the reason why I liked Honey Rider. And though Honey Rider wasn't born into this world, she wasn't a spy. She wasn't any of those things. She was an idiot on the beach picking up shells, but she could still hold her own. Like at certain points, Honey Rider was helpful. Honey Rider was on the ball. She was like, okay, this is a dangerous situation. I need to be more about it. Yo, Super Tatiana like drank the thing and like the big action scene and she's like, she's just sleeping. She's literally sleeping.
Literally knocked out on the train scene.
And on top of that, right? He steals the flower truck and she's just on the back. Like if there was any point where I was like, Bond just does not care about her. Like seriously, she's in the back being flipped around.
Explosives are happening, yeah.
There's literally a helicopter trying to kill them, and she's just in the back there, like holding on for dear life, and he's, driving. Like,
and then when they finally get out, he's like, "All right, I need to tell you to get under the truck. Get under the truck, hide, do something."
I think it's hilarious that she slept through the biggest action scene.
Good point. That is a good. I guess that kind of underscores John's point.
Yeah.
So useless, so incredibly useless.
I don't think she ever stood a chance against Honey Rider. I think that's a unanimous vote of Honey Rider ranks above her for sure.
I just can't believe how you guys are like, but she's not on the thing. She's no, she's not the Bond girl. Sylvia is the Bond girl. Sylvia still doesn't need Honey Rider.
I think it's
but Sylvia is
hilarious
definitely the Bond
that
girl here.
you know we didn't even we discussed Sylvia in the last one, but it was like she could never be the Bond girl, and in this one, we're like, oh yeah, Sylvia was definitely the better Bond girl of this movie. Like, I think we all prefer Sylvia from Tatiana, which is funny.
I'm proper rooting. If we were talking, we talked about toxic masculinity in the last one, and they portrayed this woman. There were 2 women in this movie, 3 women in this movie. She is such like if I were a woman, I would be offended to see her on screen. And yeah,
what about the gypsy women?
Oh yeah, I forgot it. But that's even. Oh my God, that's not.
Oh, that was even worse.
How did he go to a party?
The only defense you could have for the gypsy women in terms of portrayal of women is that it's like a totally different culture. But even then, because I mean, how he even has to tell Bond is like, Bond, no matter what you say, just be quiet. In terms of don't say anything. This isn't gonna be appropriate for what you're used to in Western civilization. This is a totally different culture. So because they even acknowledge it in the movie, and even for its time. So I was like, okay, you could defend it like that, but even still, I agree.
But how do you go to a party and leave owning 2 women? Like I don't.
Well,
I'm not gonna lie. If a firefight breaks out and you save the chief, I mean,
But
that's all bets are off the table.
But what's hilarious is they were fighting over a man, and then after the fight, they're just like fine to go and let Bond decide. What does the man think about that? If I was the man, I'd be like, who the hell is James Bond?
Well, no, but remember, like they just told it was one of his sons, and then Bond became one of the sons, so he technically was like,
fair enough.
Game as well.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
what I saw it as. But still, like, how do you go to a party and leave with 2 women, owning 2 women? I mean, like, not leave like, hey, I buy you a couple of drinks, we go hang out. Like it. My issue is that it definitely felt like if he's like they were his property now, and I was like,
yeah, it kind of felt like that a little bit. I mean, even though it wasn't like that, it kind of did feel like that. Here, Bond,
in the end,
these are 2 women for you. You can decide what to do with
that movie.
Yeah.
So throughout it again, his interactions with Tatiana, like part of me were like, yeah, he's a dick. Like in this movie, I think more than the last movie, we talked about that a little bit, but I think he was more of a dick in this movie. But some of it, unfortunately, kind of agreed with because Tatiana was so stupid. I would have been pissed off too. I would have been like, shut up and like take another sleeping pill. Just go to bed. Just leave.
Yeah, you're not helping.
The only time I thought that he was very aggressive towards her was right after Karen Bay died on the train, because you could see, and I guess this is a totally different discussion, but in terms of Quarrel and Karen Bay, in terms of the sidekicks dying, they both died, but Bond seemed much more impacted from the death of Karen Bay than Quarrel, and he was like, he thought that Tatiana had something to do with that. So I can understand from his point of view why he comes in so aggressively. Like before he leaves the train cart, he's very nice to her, and then as soon as he comes back, it's like all business now. This is like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But once again, like they all knew she was too good to be true from the very beginning. Like there was no premise on this. This was the trap. Clearly, she's also a trap.
Yeah, they knew
from the very beginning.
They knew it going in. Yeah. Like Tatiana is like the lady from the last,
because
she was supposed to be. Turned out she was not.
What was that, Dave? You broke up a little bit.
Yeah.
I was saying that Tatiana is like the Bond girl in Dr. No that brings him to her house, but it's like that for the whole movie. Like Bond goes in knowing it's a trap, but they just play that for the whole movie instead of just that one scene. And I think that's the whole thing with her.
But she wasn't a trap because she was so ineffective. At no point, at least that girl, it was kind of like a trap. At no point
Was she believable?
I mean,
She-
Bond outplayed her 100%.
No, he didn't have to play her. She rolled over. She was like a puppy dog. Like there was no she brought nothing to the espionage game at all. Like
Yeah, at no point did I believe she was actually working for, like the Russians who she would believe she was working for, or even Spectre.
I
Like
thought
she
I
just seemed
feel
to be working for Bond or working with him.
correct, and she felt like someone who's very powerful, like their niece who needed a job. So they're like, "Yeah, go be a spy over there. Just like leave me alone. Just like go pretend to be something over there."
Poor
And
Tatiana.
she just happened to be the person that they're like, "Hey, you want to come over here and like we got cute guys?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." I mean,
Poor Tatiana. Poor Tatiana.
it's rough.
She survived from Russia with Love, but she could not survive John's criticisms.
Yeah.
The general panel's criticisms, not just John's.
You know who's the real Bond girl for me? And I'll leave it at this. Rosa Klebb. Woo! Rosa! Lord, you don't know what you do to him, man, Rosa. Woo!
Oh god.
And
So
just,
apparently she was actually very beautiful when she was younger. So don't put her out. She
That-
could have been an amazing Bond girl too.
Of course,
I mean-
that's what she said. That's what she said.
I'm sure, but there when she came into the room in disguise, I could not stop laughing. I was like,
Like,
no.
no, at that point, I'm like, ooh, yeah, clearly Spectre is serious. Like, you were kind of that shit. You better do yourself. No resources.
I'm like, clearly something is off with this here. Something's off with this room service delivery. Like, what's going on here?
laughing. Oh, that little troll like rolled up. She didn't even have. Like, I can't remember if it was room service or like what it was. Like, why is she in the room? She's like taking away the suitcase, and he's like, "Not that one." I was like,
Not that.
"Was it gonna be that easy? Did you really think it was gonna be that easy?" The you're gonna like, "I'll just put away the suitcases and I'll walk outside with these." Like, did you think that?
Ma'am. well, with that, you know, so Spectre thought it was going to be so easy, but it wasn't quite that easy. And with that, you know, what do you guys think of the villains in this movie? Seems like there wasn't really one singular villain, you know, whereas in Dr. No, we had Dr. No. This one, it seemed like we had multiple villains. You had, I forget his name, Grant, the blonde guy whose job was to kill Bond. You had Rosa Klebb, and I guess then you had Spectre overall.
Kronstein was the other one. Was he number 5? I think he was number
And
5.
Kronstein,
The
right.
one that Blofeld kills. But his opening scene I thought was super cool because there's the chess game. I thought that was a cool introduction to his character, and then you kind of see Spectre as well. You slowly introduce the Spectre at the beginning of this movie, which I think is really cool because I think it's like 20 or 30 minutes before you even see Bond.
Yeah.
That's true.
Dave, you're cutting out there. Hey.
Yeah, sorry, I was just saying I liked Kronstein's intro with the chess scene. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I thought that's one thing the movie did well. I thought they handled, you know, they introduced multiple villains this time around, kind of expanded on the world of Spectre, which they alluded to in the first movie, but without, like, to me, going overboard and, you know, you just have like all these multiple villains, not really caring about any of them. You know, I thought Grant was that his name? Am I calling his name right?
No, it was Grant. It was Grant. Yeah, I think Grant was the main one. He was the one that felt the most menacing of the bunch, for sure.
I think he was so Spectre is definitely like over these movies. Spectre is the bad guy, but Grant was like the real bad guy. He was, you know, he was on the ground bad guy who was actually like fighting Bond.
What do you think
Yeah,
about,
I
the
love how they set up Spectre in this. Like you could tell, all right, this is a full-on organization with badass people because once again, the introduction with the chess match is like, oh, we need you now, hurry up. Okay. Checkmate. Like you got they introduced Spectre well, they've showed they've got some really good people. I believed every bit of it. When they killed the other guy, I was like, oh, okay, this organization is, pretty serious because he had a really good plan. Like, not sure how it failed. Well, we know how it failed. If she did anything at all to help them, it would have gone another way, in my opinion.
Speaking of Austin Powers, though, like Kleb reminded me so much of the woman from Austin Powers and the whole number
Absolutely.
2, number 5,
Absolutely.
and how Dr. Evil
I
always
saw her
kills.
and I was like, oh my god.
I gotta disagree with you guys. I thought, Grant was the bad guy, and I liked him from the very beginning. That opening, like that set him up for me. Loved him, and he was just like he was so mysterious and cool, and he's always in the background. And the great thing about him as well is that he was tracking Bond. He was definitely hands on, but at no point was he like, yeah, I need to go fight him right now. Like he picked his moments, and I love that about him. He was a really cool bad guy.
The thing is, also, he always had the upper hand. Like, you actually felt like Bond was in serious danger because Grant always had the upper hand.
The point where he saved his life, I was like, oh, he's just toying with him now. I love it. He just like, I need to finish my mission, so like you're not gonna die yet. I'm literally gonna save your life so that I can kill you later. Like he saved him to kill him. I love that. He even on the train, to be honest, I didn't like lose respect for Bond, but I was kind of like in my mind I was like, how are you not seeing straight through this?
I thought about that too, but sorry, continue.
I was like, how are you not seeing straight through this one? And then I was like, oh, because I've been seeing him the entire time. James Bond hasn't been seeing him the entire time. I know that, like, obviously when his life was saved, he, like, questioned it. He's not seeing what I'm seeing, so I can understand that to a certain point on the train where James Bond called him out. It was like, you drugged her, and bad guy. How did he still let him get the upper hand? But he still had it. So I really Grant as a bad guy. I actually longer. Spectre, like for me, he was all set up. Kleb was hilarious. Like she was again, he was just funny to me. Like she was on the other hand, the chess thing, I thought the chess thing was stupid. I thought the chess thing was so pointless. Like I feel like if what they were trying to do is like how they use poker to set up like, oh, this is an intellectual person. They know how to play a game. They know how to play the long game. They know how to like set people up and blah, blah, blah. But they did that and failed. So you're worthless. Like he was so pointless to me. And the cool thing about it for me was that Kleb, she's the one who was like kind of like training these people and who was bringing together different people. So she was interesting. That guy though, he was so pointless. If he wasn't in this movie at all, I'd miss anything.
I don't think he was pointless. I actually liked him. I thought he came up with a good plan. Turn. I guess what the plan was to kind of turn Russia and the British against each other. And then, when they're fighting each other, and we get what we want. I thought his plan was pretty intelligent. It was just that, Tatiana was really
so basically Kleb failed with the people she brought in.
Oh, but did Kleb fail? Because I feel like if Kleb was the closest, and at least she went in, granted, of course, I would never hire her as a housekeeping, so I don't know why she thought that was a good idea. And when she started to try to fight Bond, I was like, B, you're like, he's gonna beat you up. Like, what do you
what did you hope to do from this? I agree.
He
shoe
looks so
spike.
sick.
I love how they do the shoe spike. Like if that's the most dangerous thing in the world, like it's a shoe spike. It's like literally you, and you don't have as much control in your foot as you do in your hand. So like maybe just carry a knife. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this, but like maybe just carry a
That shit
knife.
scared me. When that knife came out, I was like, "Oh shit! Watch out, Bond! Oh shit!"
I was like, oh shit, and I was
I'm
like,
like, wait,
oh,
no.
shoot. Like,
At that point, I was like, wait a minute. I don't think she's as flexible as she thinks she is doing this. Because even like trying to kick ball, and it was like, this was this was
I
horrible.
respect her because she was definitely grabbing at Bond. She was like, she was all in, you know. She was like, I'm gonna get you. But again, that's like when a little kitten is trying to attack you. You're like, oh, you're so cute. You're so sweet. Oh, you shut up.
Hmm.
Just be quiet. So
Don't-
I liked her. She was helpful for the whole overall bad guys. But I mean, come on, like, did you really think that she's gonna be taking out Bond? No. And
Once
that
again,
other
if Tatiana actually did anything at all,
Would have
it would
taken
have gone very differently. Like she had Bond dead to
well, I felt like if
rights.
she was gonna like monologue a little bit and then Bond would just get closer and like slap her away or something, like
Hmm.
whatever. I mean, I
think-
liked Grant.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I think Grant was the most menacing Bond villain in the movie. He's like the main villain,
Oh yeah.
and I think he's the biggest villain Bond has faced so far between Doctor No and him. He's the one that took. I mean, he had the upper hand. It's interesting, the train scene, because I didn't pick up what caused Bond to lower his guard down. I think the first time I watched this movie, but it's the freaking briefcase.
Yep.
That's what makes him lower his guard, because he checks the briefcase and is like, this is Q's briefcase. This is the same briefcase I got. That's what causes him to lower his guard. The briefcase almost, because he's suspicious of Grant when he gets on the train, and it's only the briefcase that messes him up, that causes him to be like, oh no, this is, yeah, all right, this is
An
this is
operative. Hmm.
Wait,
an
wait.
ops guy.
You mean because you think because it was Q's briefcase? I thought it was just because he checked the
Right.
briefcase and there was nothing menacing in
See
it.
anything.
There was just
Nah,
a gun.
it's
And
Q's
you
briefcase.
No,
just-
he saw
That's
the
what it
briefcase,
was.
and that's the way he actually
Yeah.
went to him first.
So the first time I saw the movie, I thought the same as you, John, that it was just like he checked the briefcase, there was nothing menacing in it, but he didn't just check the briefcase. It was Q's briefcase. He recognized when he was opening the
Because
latches that it's
yeah,
Q's
even when he went-
briefcase. That's why he
So
actually
I
turned the
recommend
upper
that he
hand,
did the
because
thing.
when he realized that that Grant was the villain, and Grant had no clue that this briefcase was special, that's how he ended up turning it against him. But that's why he lowered his guard in the first place.
Well, I mean, yeah. I wish that he like stayed on a little bit longer. I really liked him, especially since he was like he was in the background for most of it, but he's been training specifically to take out Bond. He's trained specifically to like, I will always get the upper hand to this man. And for him to be taken out by a briefcase, I was a little bit like, cha. Like maybe you should like direct that
there's the
towards
fight afterwards. So
yeah, I was like, maybe just direct that towards Tatiana. Just like let her, take that bullet and just, like keep this guy around a little bit longer. Like blow off half of his face and like he comes back and you're like, you mashed up half of my face. Something. I don't know.
I will say that
just-
once Grant died, it felt as if Bond was not threatened anymore. Like the
Yeah.
main threat was over. I mean, the boat action scene and the helicopter action scene were both amazing, but I feel like you never really felt like Bond was in serious danger like you did when Grant was in the room.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to agree. Like, yeah, I mean, compared to Doctor No, I mean, I know like last week or in the last episode I said that Doctor No is maybe a bit underwhelming, but I was looking at it again, and I do think Doctor No is actually a pretty good villain, and I do kind of like how they kept him a secret until the end.
Yeah.
But this time around they definitely created a villain who you felt was formidable. Whereas maybe with Doctor No, maybe you didn't. I mean, you definitely respected Doctor No, but I don't know. You didn't really feel that I don't know, that Bond was in trouble the same way that you felt he was in trouble here. And that fight scene on the train, to me, that was really intense. Like, I mean, obviously I knew Bond was going to die, but, you know, I did feel like, yikes, like, ooh, this is getting a little bit shaky here. Can Bond get out of this? And, you know, I mean, that fight scene was intense. I mean, I don't think there was any music playing. You know, all you could hear was just the hits, you know, and them just throwing each other around the car. You know,
And there's
kind of,
lighting as well. Yeah.
And the sound of the train. The sound of the train.
The
Yeah.
lighting. Yeah.
the sound of the train. Like, I think that was beautiful how they did that, because to me that just raised the stakes in that fight. You know, and I was really paying attention at that point, on the edge of my seat. So, yeah, I mean, I think Grant was definitely a more formidable villain for Bond than Dr. No, and I think that's what they were going for in this movie. I think they achieved it quite well.
Well, I mean, in comparing anyone, I would think it'd be like Dr. No against. Well, he was a part of Spectre. I feel like if Dr. No, though, he was an acceptable beginner baddie.
Yeah,
Like, you can't climax at the beginning of the franchise. He was a good beginner baddie. I think Grant, and while he was more like on a world stage, this is what we're doing, he's the start of it. Grant was literally, it's like the difference between a politician who you know is a bad guy and a guy walking down the street with a gun in his hand gonna shoot you. You know, like, one, yeah, they're gonna get you eventually, but one of them, like, that's literally in your
But
face.
that's another thing. Do we separate them by like saying a mastermind and a henchman, or
Yeah, that's
like
a good point.
I wouldn't say he's a henchman, but at the same time, like,
yeah,
he was doing heavy lifting.
that's a good point.
I think
he was a henchman. He was a fucking henchman.
he was a henchman, but he was a good henchman though. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing that I'll get. I don't think, especially like how they were showing his training and him just like laying there. He just pretty much seemed like their plaything, but he was a damn good. Like, he did his job well. You know, I think that overall he did his job really well.
Yeah, I mean,
I will say this. I did think it was odd that, although at the end where he was like, "I'm gonna torture you, Bo," and I'm like, but you were so clinical before. What? Why?
Yeah. Why are you gonna ruin it now?
Right, and I mean, to me, that scene in the train where, like, you know, Grant gets greedy. You know, Bond is like, you know, there's. I have another 12 coins in that briefcase over there. Why don't you? You know, I can open it for you. And Grant's like, no, I got it. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I really fully bought that. Like, I mean, it's fine. But I don't. You know, just to that point, like, Grant was excellent, and I don't know if I really bought that. You know, as it's so believable that Bond could really trick him like that. I mean,
although I don't know what the value of those gold francs.
I mean, this is the 60s.
Yeah,
you don't know. It could have been worth a lot.
I guess, but to me, up to that point, they hadn't really established him as like a greedy person. I mean, so to me,
sure, like, you can see like all his needs were met. He's laying down on the beach, like being massaged.
Yeah, getting massaged by a half-naked woman.
Exactly. So to me, that seemed a little bit out of character for me. You know, I mean, it was fine, but I don't know. That just seemed a little bit out of character. Believable for me there, but you know,
I hear where you're coming from, but the reason it's really interesting that Ramon brought it up just before is that's exactly it. He's a henchman. Like, you know, he's not getting paid. He's not a millionaire because of what's going on. He's not in that Spectre boardroom making decisions. He's just a dude on the side who's like, oh, you want me to kill that guy? I didn't have to kill people. Sure, why not? It's like any security guard who's like, yes, they're posted at the door and they're a security guard. But if you told them, hey, I'm gonna go rob the bank and I'll like throw a couple hundred your way, they'd probably be like, yeah, all right. I mean, like, cool. He was a henchman. But again, I think that he did that job very effectively. Like, he was a really good henchman. I liked it. I actually think for him, he was my favorite part of the movie, because like just him being mysterious, the way that I can't express to you how much I like the beginning, the way they set him up, and the way that he was just always around. He was just like such a cool cat. That would have been an interesting movie where like this guy is just following you around, and, like you're doing your stuff, and he's just waiting for the right moment to swoop in and be like, "Got it. My mission is done. You do all the hard work. I'm just gonna swoop in, finish my mission, and then go back to lady on the beach."
Yeah, Bond should have granted him access.
Oh Jesus!
Which is a nice segue to like what was the one line of the movie, guys?
What was the one line of the movie?
Was that intentional? Because that was good.
I was like, you know what's coming next, y'all. You know what's coming next.
Well then,
One-liners. Now, did you guys have a favorite one-liner from this movie, or what do you guys think was the best one from this movie?
As I said,
Okay.
I was.
Go. Oh no, boom, Ramon, go.
As I said, I was 10 in this movie, so I'm not gonna lie. When Bob was like, sorry, with the telescope, things are shaping up nicely. I did actually die at that.
Holy shit, I missed that. Oh,
That was my favorite line too, Ramon. You stole my line. That was mine. That was my favorite one. Well, from this angle, and he even says from this angle, things are shaping up nicely. I love that line. That had me so good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Chris? What was your favorite one line?
Well, mine's definitely gonna be the most obvious one. The one at the end. Right after
With the kicks, yeah, the kicks.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
That was a close second, definitely.
I
She had her
actually,
kicks.
That's
my favorite one was when he was sniping against a billboard, and
Oh,
at the very end, he just like drops it. She should have kept her mouth. She should have kept her
She
mouth
could have
shut.
her mouth shut.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I thought there was more to that joke. I actually Googled it to see like who that person was in the billboard. And is like, was there like is that like a joke of like who that person was? I couldn't find anything. Is like, was that a person that did that mean more than just in the movie?
Here's the reason why I picked that line, right? Because that to me, throughout this movie, he's smart and suave, and that to me, that was the most campy joke up to that point. Like that was the most like he's trying to be funny. He's not just being witty. He's like literally trying to be funny at that point. And I was like, I get it. I give you your chuckle. Like I appreciated that line a lot. It was like Bond was trying to be funny. I'm here for it. You're a funny guy, Bond.
I thought that was pretty intelligent.
That was good.
I mean, this one definitely had some intelligent one-liners, I'll say, and it wasn't like overkill neither.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Not
was
at all,
spaced out
not at all.
well. So you could like really appreciate them when they came around.
I actually think
I will admit, like she had her kicks did seem a little forced to me, but it's okay.
I want to believe again with that line, like the mouth joke. I feel like if I want to believe that Sean Connery thought that was funny. Like he delivered it so it was trying to tell a joke. He wasn't just being witty. He was just, haha, I'm so sly. It was like he was trying to be funny. I felt like if he was being stand-up comedy funny, and I was like, yes, I'm here for it. I thought though that this movie wasn't very funny overall. Like there weren't like that many lines that were like ha 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 funny.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I like that line as well. Because that was the one moment where he was like trying to be kicksy. He even smiled afterwards. I was like, yeah, you're funny.
I think I appreciated that about this movie. It wasn't like
overly.
It wasn't overly corny. Like they did the humor well. And, like,
yeah.
like,
it was sparse. Yeah.
Right.
And it did seem authentic because at no point like he said a joke to himself. It was always like in general company and to suit the general company that he was supposed to.
So that's the funny part. That's why I love the line you picked so much, Ramon, because in actuality, that was an inside joke because Aaron Bay could not see what he was seeing. So he was looking through the telescope, and so he said, well, from this angle, things are shaping up nicely. And to him, that's hilarious. Karen Bay has no idea what he's looking at. So I think that makes it even funnier because Bond just made a joke to himself. and he kind of
Yes.
chuckles to himself, kind of like, yeah, I made it funny. I think that's hilarious. It's like he just made that comment to himself. Like the way he phrased it, just like that. I mean, come on. He must have comedian aspirations, which is why he then made the mouth open joke later on in the movie.
Well, I think we've definitely gone through, some really key parts of this movie. What do you guys think of this overall? And how would you compare this to Doctor No? Improvement? Not? What do you guys think?
I think this was definitely
it was general improvement, but go ahead though.
I think it was definitely an improvement for me, from my perspective. They upped the action, they upped the espionage. You can see they're playing with different concepts in terms of how they want to evolve the series, which you see later on in the series. But for a sequel, I thought it improved on the espionage concept from the original, and it was just overall a great movie. I enjoyed Dr. No more than I thought I would when I rewatched it, but I knew going into this one I was going to enjoy it, and I did. And I think on its own, I think From Russia with Love, I think Dr. No stands really good because it's the first Bond movie. It's really interesting to see how much was in the first movie that continued on, but I thought From Russia with Love was the better movie overall for me. 9 out of 10 for me. Oh, it was cutting out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it seems like we got the gist.
Yeah.
You liked it. You liked it more than
I liked it. I rate it 9 out of 10 for me. 9 out of 10.
I'm gonna agree with Dave. It definitely did improve on many overall aspects of the general Bond series. A lot of things that showed up in this, you can tell, hey, they decided they were going to flesh them out, and they decided they're going ahead with it. Became more witty, which is now a staple of Bond movies. Even though it failed in, I guess, the minor categories, so like I once again didn't like the Bond girl. I thought the villain, he's a really good villain, but I did actually like Dr. No a lot as well. Like in my mind, I think they're maybe equal, but yeah. So I do like it I do like it more than Dr. No, but I'm gonna still give it an 8.5, like Dr. No, because it did have some downsides that as major points of this a Bond, you need to either equal or improve in order to leapfrog the next the one before. So 8.5 for me. Same as Dr. No.
Well, you gave Dr. No an 8, and it turned out to be an 8.5 when we added up all of our scores and averaged it out. But guys, I thought I was gonna enjoy this movie so much. I really I remember liking it a lot. The difference between Dr. No is that I didn't really remember Dr. No, and going in, I really enjoyed it. This one, I remember liking it a lot. And then I came out, I was like, what? I was a little bit disappointed, actually. Because there's so many little things that I was like, that didn't make sense. Tatiana really was not good. The gypsy thing, even the gypsy thing, I remember enjoying that gypsy fight and that whole gypsy scene a lot more. So his sidekick was awesome. I really enjoyed him and his whole, the sons. We didn't talk about him much, but he was actually a highlight for me as well. The bad guy, for me, the bad guy is Spectre. They're building Spectre. There's a lot of things that they built on, they introduced, and Q and Moneypenny had a little bit more. She was a little bit more sassy. And I mean, there's a lot of those things that they're building on, and I appreciate it. Even what killed Grant was a gadget. You know, like I like that the
No, it
spy
was his
part of it. His briefcase. You know, like I mean I liked a lot of those things. They definitely introduced more things. They built more things, but the reason why I like Dolce No is because they had like so many things that you see further on. They just built on those things a little bit more, but they let me down. The opening sequence, the opening credits, I was a little bit like, hmm. I I I think I was just disappointed in this movie. I'm gonna give it a 7. I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I was gonna enjoy it. I thought this was at least gonna be on par with Doctor No, but for me it actually fell short because when it came down to it, there were good things about the movie, but it actually wasn't as enjoyable for me because partially because of Tatiana. She just grinded my gears the entire time. And
most because of Tatiana.
and like I said at the beginning, right? I was watching this movie and I was just thinking of Austin Powers and the fact that this made me want to watch Austin Powers because I know I'm gonna enjoy Austin Powers the next time that I watch it. But I was looking for things and it was just like so in the last one we talked about him traveling. He was only in Jamaica in the last one. He traveled in this one, but I actually didn't like the travel. I thought him being stuck on a train was kind of stupid. Him trying to get off the train and like it being so difficult and whatnot. I didn't enjoy that as much. I thought Budapest was really cool. Like they did a lot of cool things there, but the way that he traveled, I didn't enjoy it. The boat scene was worth it, but the train itself, I thought that was kind of dumb. Especially where they're kind of setting up that there were Russians on board who were trying to get them. I was like, a train isn't that big that you couldn't track them down and figure out. I don't know. That just seemed a little bit ridiculous to me.
Oh, but remember, well, I think
I liked the train scene.
I like, yeah.
No,
I like.
Because it
again,
made sense.
I
Like
liked
the
it.
airports
I-
were bugged, and they found the Russians at the very beginning as soon as they came on.
Yeah.
No, I get why they took the train. And I did enjoy the train scene. But again, them not being able to get off happened on the train. It was kind of yeah. I mean, if you had the train scene and then they immediately got off the train scene, I would have been fine with that. I think what really killed it for me was I hate criticizing like the movie itself. What killed it for me was when they showed that's a very super old technique where they show the map and them traveling along to like where they're going. And I was like, wow guys, wow, we're really doing this. All right, cool. Cool. That killed it for me. That scene, like, it wasn't even, oh, we're in Jamaica now, or we're in Budapest and now we're somewhere else. They showed the train like on the map, like the sound effects and stuff, and I was like, all right, cool. Yeah.
I mean, I felt. I
No.
mean, even the train. I felt like. I guess I take the point. Although I felt. I mean, like. I mean, I don't say they couldn't get off, but they did have like this important device, and so. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they couldn't just get off anywhere. I don't know.
But yeah, I agree. They couldn't just get off anywhere. But I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me why they were
Just stuck
on
there.
the train for so long. They were supposed to meet up. It just kept on not happening to the point where when he met Grant, his idea for getting off the train is, yeah, we'll just jump off the train. I was like, what?
Well, they're
After
jumping
all
off
this-
they're jumping off the train at a specific location because
Again, I
remember
get
back
that.
then there wouldn't have been as many places to like. They're not towns they could just go to, and well, I suppose
Again,
they could have dropped off near a town and just walked there instead of having to drop off at a specific location. So I see what you're
I
saying.
feel
But you don't want to
feel
stop
like-
at major ports. That
Yeah.
was I think that was the issue.
no,
Well,
it wasn't
yeah.
just major. It wasn't just major points. They didn't want to stop anywhere that they would get like hit by customs. And again, to me, that was a little bit stupid. Like, you're James Bond, and like what you're scared about is customs. Like, you're what? it was just a little bit like, I don't know, figure it out. I felt like if there are so many options, then the answers that they were giving you for why these events were taking place that same way, they just didn't add up. When you're friggin' James Bond, you know, you're James Bond, and you have a license to kill. You're probably gonna kill a couple more people, and you're like scared of going through customs. Come on, man.
I mean,
I can see where you're coming from for sure.
I'm just saying, right? If Daniel Craig at any point was like, I don't want to fly because I don't want to deal with airport security, I would have just been like, I will walk to the goddamn movie
No,
theater.
but
I would have been like, nope. Daniel Craig is
he's
scared of
done that
TSA?
before
Come
though.
on.
But he's done that before, but like avoiding major airport, like going to like the airport because facial recognition and whatnot. But yeah,
If you want to set up like a super spy, don't make them scared of customs. Don't make them scared of TSA. Like that's not how I'm gonna get on board with you. Also, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, the whole train thing didn't hold up as well for me. And I mean, like, I remember watching it and thinking, oh, I miss going on trains. Like, I wouldn't mind going on a train right now. But then they stayed on the train because they were supposed to get off, but then they stayed on the train, and they would just get longer and longer and longer. And they're like, oh, we'll meet in the dining cart. And I'm like, come on, man, blow up the dining cart. Like, why are you still on this train? Why are you still on this train? Also, several people died on the train, and the train never actually stopped. And I feel like if someone dies on a train and the conductor, like, they knew that he died, they're like, oh, I have bad news. Yeah, stop the train. Like, somebody, like, he seems like a
remember,
pretty
Bond, pay
important guy.
him not to tell anyone.
yeah,
I'm just saying, he's not the only one. Like, I feel like if on a train, the body would start to smell a little bit. It was a couple of bodies.
Also,
like,
I think also because that was the Orient Express train they were on. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure, but because of that, and I think maybe they were also paying tribute to murder on the Orient Express, which would have had all the same issues that you were just discussing, John. Like, there was multiple murders on that specific story, and they didn't stop the train either. So I think they were kind of paying tribute to that. I don't know that for sure. Once I found out it was the Orion Express they were on, and I think that was in the movie. Or maybe I'm just putting two and two together because I watched Agatha Christie series recently, so it might just be on my mind. But I thought they might have been paying tribute.
I thought about stuff like that. I mean, like, I really tried to justify this train business. There's a certain point where I was like, yeah, you should have just gone off the train, man. You should have just gone off the train. You didn't even blow up the train.
John wanted some more, more proactivity.
I mean, I'm picking we're talking specifically about the train, but it's just this movie. Yes, they built a little bit more. I felt like if Dr. No set up a lot of stuff, they set up a little bit more stuff, but I prefer Dr. No more. I enjoyed it a lot more. Maybe because of the whole expectation thing, because I did go into this movie thinking, I remember liking it a lot. Yeah, I wish I remember why I liked it so much, because I gotta say, the things that I was just like, yeah, this,
Yeah.
but it definitely wasn't like you guys. I went into Dr. No thinking I would give it an 8, but you guys are talking it being an 8 and 2, but I feel like if it deserved more, and that's why I gave it a 9. But this definitely came in under for me, so it's a 7 for me. I actually considered giving it an 8 too, but I was like, it's not just one step below Dr. No for me. It's down there. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably more so on the side of Dave and Ramon on this one. I'm actually between, should I give this a 9 or a 10?
Ooh.
Okay.
I mean, I'm thinking now it probably won't give it a 10, but Um, I
You-
mean,
So a 10 is a perfect movie. You thought this was a perfect movie?
yeah. I mean, I thought it was close, but I mean, there were a few parts of it that weren't perfect. So thinking, I don't think I could give it a 10, but definitely a perfect sequel. Really good. I mean, why I think that, I don't know. I'm a man of simple taste. Um, good story, and by that I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I didn't really see too many like plot holes in the story. Um, intriguing villains. Get a sense that the main character is in danger. Um, the Bond girl, Tatiana was very underwhelming. So, that's a minus for the movie. She wasn't very memorable. She wasn't very memorable.
Poor
To jump
girl. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, outside of the Bond girl, maybe like the opening titles, which I think I have to agree maybe with what John's saying. Thinking back, it wasn't very inspiring. It was very simple. And I did say I do like, I did like it simple, but thinking now, maybe I do prefer the opening titles from Doctor No now, maybe a little more. But I think I'd have to give this a 9. Great action, intriguing villains, good story. They expanded what they did in the first movie.
Yeah. So one question though. So you thought this was more entertaining than Doctor No?
Huh. That's a good question. That is a good question.
Because here's what, right? I did want to like this movie. I liked the gypsy part in it as well. I thought it was kind of like random and funny. I saw what they did with it as well, and I appreciated that. But when I finished this movie, I remember coming out of Doctor No enjoying it a lot more. Like I really enjoyed the ride for Doctor No. This one I did enjoy the ride. I'm not saying it was like a bad ride, but I didn't enjoy it as much. I definitely didn't enjoy it as much. And that's the reason why this, like, on top of all the things in Doctor No seemed legit to me, And like, for example, again, Honey Rider, while not the perfect character, I actually think she's way more representative of a woman and way more realistic as a woman, as opposed to this idiot. Like, there are few people who are supposed to be spies that I can think of who would be that stupid. There are few people who I think are that stupid, and then they're supposed to be spies. Nah. Like, I just I enjoyed Doctor No more. That's the reason why I gave it a high score. And then those things plus not enjoying it as much, 7 for me for sure.
So Ramon, if you had to choose between 8 or 9 out of 10, because you're the only one that gave it 8.5, which way would you go? Which way?
Oh no! Since John told me like I gave the Arsenal an 8, I would give this one an 8 as well. Like I will admit, like John, I did enjoy Doctor No more. But I will give For Watch Your Love its props. Like they did do a lot of stuff a lot better. Like even as we were saying, Kareem.
Yeah.
Love the interaction with him and Kareem.
But
like,
yeah, I agree with that. And he made this movie really enjoyable. I really enjoyed that character. He actually reminded me of like Felix in later movies where he is like Bond's ruling partner, right? And the difference in this as well is that we said psychic, but I don't feel like if he was a psychic. I feel like if he was Bond's partner throughout this movie. Because he didn't have a Bond girl to like rely on. He was Bond's partner. He was doing things as well. He had his limitations, but I feel like if he was more of a partner as opposed to, yeah, Mr. Bond, I'll go get your gun. Like, and I like that interaction. And I think it's perfectly fair. I think 8 is a very fair rank for this. Don't get me wrong. It's just for me, when I thought back on it, I just really, it's definitely not getting a 9 like Dr. No for me. And I had to go lower. Yeah.
So I just averaged up the ratings, and so Dr. No average was 8.5, and From Russia with Love is 8.25. So actually, across the group, Doctor No is the more enjoyed movie, which is
Wait.
surprising. Before we started this conversation, I
Didn't
thought for
think it
sure
was.
From Russia with Love was gonna outdo Doctor No. So it's interesting to see Doctor No hold on to the #1 spot.
Wait, back up. So I gave it a 7. You gave it an 8, and you give it a 9.
I gave it a 9. Chris gave it a 9. Ramon gave it an 8. You gave it a 7. So the average is
How did-
8.25.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that
33
is that
divided
math?
by 4.
Huh?
That's why I asked Ramon to choose between 8 and 9.
Yeah, that's 2 nines.
Cut out again.
Really? That's so. But it got 2 9s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, 7s are deadly.
Yeah, John.
Yeah. That's 7, man.
Noted.
But once again, I could see John's opinion. But I
To be fair, though,
I did think it did better.
I think anything because I rate movies pretty harshly. Anything that is 8 or above is excellent, and I don't think even in the Bond series there's some. I enjoy all of the Bond movies, but let's be real, not all of the Bond movies are going to be 8s. At least for me personally.
There's some doozies. I can think of at least one, which is, I mean, I feel like if 5 is going to be very generous.
Yeah.
Because at that
We
point,
know they're coming.
at that point, not only is the main character, not only is the Bond girl stupid, but like there's just there's no believing this.
Yeah,
crap.
exactly. Right.
There's
It's not grounded anymore. It's just like, okay.
and
It's like, okay, you guys are really like taking the piss now. Like,
and those 5 points are all going to be fun points because it's a fun movie. I had fun making fun of it. Like, yeah, I'll get that 5 but everything else down. No.
It'll be really interesting to see what as we continue, because we're averaging everyone's ranking, how the movies shape up. It's not just like, it's my personal ranking or John's personal ranking or Ramon or Chris, but we're actually putting them all together. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out.
I'm surprised that you guys gave it 9s, honestly. I thought it was going to be 8s. I really thought it was going to be 8s.
I thought this was an improvement on it, and
I thought I
guess I consider it a 9. I thought it was a really good improvement.
I remember this being one of my favorites. I really thought I remember this being one of my favorites. I was surprised by the fact that I didn't enjoy it as much as Doctor No. I really remember it. From Russia with Love was always like one of the standouts.
Right.
But looking back, I mean, maybe I'll watch it again in a couple of years and like change my mind. But I seriously, there were a couple of things Tatiana really like. She did a number, man. Like
she was not memorable.
I wish I could forget her.
I think you did.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, that was great.
Wait. I just have one quick question, guys. So, in your opinion, which side was Tatiana on? Russia, Spectre, or Bond?
Russia.
She was never on Spectre's side. She was never on Spectre's side. She didn't even know Spectre existed. She was on Russia's side. She didn't know about
Spectre.
No. She was on Spectre's side. She just didn't know it. She's too stupid to know it. She was on Bond's side.
And then she became on Bond's side.
Yeah.
After Bond gave her that.
No, but that was very early into the interaction. So from the beginning, she was on Bond's side.
It was pretty early on that she just turned on to Bond's side. That's true. Can I point out, Spectre has some freaks, man. Videotaping Bond and Tatiana going at it like.
This movie is very risque for the time. I mean, even now.
It was an amazing plan. Like, you have that information. If you let her get out alive, you have her under your thumb for the rest of her life.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, you're right, Dave, because they did this thing. I don't know if I noticed it in other Bond movies where like they would be getting dressed and they do dress, but you just don't see it. Like they just like angle it perfectly.
There you can.
She
But,
was
like, you're
completely
naked.
nude. She was completely nude in that scene where Bond is in in the bridal suite of the hotel,
Yeah.
and she goes to the bed. You see the shadow, but I mean, if you were to freeze frame, you would see it. She was completely nude in that scene, and
Yeah.
Honey
Even
Rider was completely nude in the bath scene of Doctor No. So it's like these movies were really risque for the time. Because I mean,
was
even
she
now,
completely
So
nude?
okay.
Because
yeah, she was completely nude. Well, Honey
no,
Rider and
was he?
no, he wasn't.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Because like he changed into a towel at one point, and I mean in that bathing scene, he should have been naked. But like even with them, he did like a little camera angle, like, oh, you don't see anything. It was up top. You can see his full thing, his full body, and then like when he was changing, they like did the camera angle. It they I This movie was pretty sexual. They were definitely capitalizing on she's a pretty girl.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
But I gotta say, watching it, I was just like, that is so not enough.
So it's funny. I'm looking here at it, like 1963. This is PG.
What?
That's PG.
Right?
Did they have PG-13 back then?
But actually, interesting enough, PG-13 didn't come around until the second Indiana Jones movie.
When did
So that
R
was like
come out?
1980 something.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was like the early 1980s, maybe. Temple of Doom. I think that was the first PG-13 one.
Oh,
Maybe you could check that. But yeah, no, PG-13 wouldn't come around until the 80s.
the more you know.
Yeah,
Lucky kids.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Pour from Russia with Love. What's the next movie?
Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Looking
Dear
forward to
God,
this
please
one.
let this. Dear God, please let it live up, because I remember this
Yeah.
one being really good as well.
I hope
Yeah.
so. Next thing you know, we
That's-
come back, John's like shitting on this one too.
I mean,
Like, this is the
I
vibe.
did not shit on this movie, for the record. I just had issues. It would be really funny if going out of this, like, because I always think my quintessential Bond is Sean Connery. It'd be funny if I go out of this being like, Sean Connery movies suck, and then I'm like Timothy Dalton, like that. Those were the movies. That was the real thing.
You
Not
know,
gonna lie, I'm a little bit terrified too because Roger Moore is my man, but I can see how this could
God.
change.
It will be interesting to go through and see. I think that we didn't really speak of it much, and I think we'll discuss it next week too. Sean Connery's performance, I thought, was better in this movie than the first one. Like he feels very comfortable in the role. Like I just think his portrayal of Bond is excellent in this movie.
yeah.
I don't know. There's something about it. I think that I actually didn't like Sean Connery. May have played it better. I don't think that I like James Bond as much as I did in this movie. I really didn't enjoy this movie as much as I thought I would.
And let me correct one thing I said about the PG-13. The first PG-13 rating movie was Red Dawn in 1984, but Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, that was really the catalyst for it because there was so much outcry when it came out as PG and it was kind of violent. So
Yeah, so it didn't happen till then. Yeah.
clarify that. Yeah, right.
All right, so
Anyhow, guys, nice talking, nice bonding.
yeah,
Well, yes, and whoever's watching this, thank you for listening in. And we'll be back the next Bond time, same Bond place.
what was the ending credits in this one?
From
Was
Russia.
it James Bond will be returning, or was it
James
Sean
Bond will
Connery
return.
James Bond will
Yeah,
return.
James
Yeah,
Bond will return.
I like that.
It's at the end,
Yeah, that's
and then
pretty
I was like, but James Bond will return, or something like that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then they played the song. I don't get why they didn't just play the goddamn song in the beginning sequence. Like, why did they? It was weird not having. Yeah, there was music, but there's weird not having a song to like sing
Right.
it with. And then
Right.
the fact that they had a song in the end, I was like, B, you
No,
had it the
I
whole
will
time,
admit,
when
like
you
the
just
belly. I'm looking at the title, like from Brush was up in the belly. That scene did not make any sense at the very beginning to me.
Yeah, no,
Like,
yeah. It was
Yeah.
what is this?
like,
Yeah.
honestly, I'm
the
not gonna lie.
belly.
That belly dancing scene to me, I don't know. I mean, to me, that's I don't know if that was necessary in the movie. I just kind of felt like filler.
Gratuitous. But I'm okay with that. Again, like not everything needs to. That's one thing that I like about Bond as well. Not everything 100% needs to make sense. One and two, there are certain things that they do just because it's kind of interesting. I like that gypsy scene. It was random, but I kind of like that gypsy scene. It was.
Yeah.
It was. I know it was an odd choice, but I mean, yeah,
No, I
I've seen it.
totally like it, and it further cemented Kareem as like one of the partners for Bond to me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the interaction, it seemed that's why in my opinion it seemed like Sean Connery was more into the role because like the supporting characters just made it more authentic or like
Yeah.
organic to me.
He had good support with him, and then he had a good opposition with Grant. Like I really like those two things. Those two things were done really, really well. And his interaction with Kareem as well was very like that could have been Felix. That could have been his rolling buddy Felix, you know, and I like that. It wasn't a sidekick. It was like that was his partner.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
All right, man.